The question, how much older am I than you? For me, I started high school in 1995 and graduated in 1999. So I was a teenager during the perfect time as far as music goes, during the grunge era, right? And there were a lot of female singers that were actually really good during that time too. I loved Alanis Morissette. I loved the Cranberries. And I've been in a phase where I've been listening to that on my iPod, just all these old albums that I haven't listened to in a long time. Joan Osborne, she's the one that sang that song. She made that song famous, What If God Was One of Us? It's been in several movies. You'll know it when you hear it. She sang the song. Anyway, I have her album on my iPod. I listened to it for the first time really all the way through last week, like 4 or 5 times. And I like fell in love with it. I was like, man, I missed like being exposed to the full album when I was a kid, but now as an adult, this is an awesome album. Anyway, I think it's track number 4 called Dracula Moon. And then early on into that song, she has a line that says something to the effect of, what if the cure is actually worse than the disease? What if the cure is actually worse than the disease? And you can imagine, for a guy who's a YouTuber about hair loss, I imaginally took it to that level. Because I was thinking, what if the cure for hair loss is actually worse than the hair loss itself? Now, I know that I recently made a video talking about the fact that by now we all know the 5 stereotypes of the hair loss haters. And if you're a hair loss hater, then what that means is you think that the only hope for a balding man is to take drugs and save your hair that way. Otherwise, your life would just fall apart. That's what hair loss haters believe. That's one of the 5 things they believe. And I made a video saying, well, that's great if it even works, but these drugs don't always work, and there are possible side effects. And hair loss haters won't recognize that they don't work for everyone, and there could be side effects. But you know, even aside from that, even aside from finasteride and Rogaine and Propecia, all those things, aside from all that, whatever the cure for hair loss is, whatever you're adopting as the cure, what if that's actually worse than the hair loss itself? Okay, so aside from drugs, maybe it's the hair transplant. What if the hair transplant was actually more trouble than it was even worth by the time you paid for it, did it? Okay, let's assume the first one worked out, but give it another 15 years, maybe you need another one, or whatever happens. Is that maybe more trouble than it's worth? Or whatever you're doing. Maybe even watching my videos all the time. Finally, you're like, why am I still watching Nick's videos? I get the point now. It's my choice to be confident. I can either get over this thing or not. And if I want to focus on ways to be more masculine and be more confident, I can do that. Or I can keep whining and never get over my hair loss and dig my own grave while I'm still alive and basically be a zombie. So I think that there's definitely that's the question to ask. Is the cure worse than the disease itself? Because here's the thing. In theory, even if you are someone who buys into my theories about confidence outweighing hair loss, at some point, you're not really going to learn much more from me anyway, right? I mean, it would just be torture to keep watching my videos if you weren't growing and learning from them in some way. And so my whole concept in doing this channel is not for people to just stay here forever. It's for them to grow up and graduate and leave and have fond memories of me later in life. Nick Show, that random YouTuber, he helped me through my hair loss. My whole goal is for you to graduate from the program. But I think that it is definitely, hair loss is definitely, it's something that you either get over or you don't. But I think people throw so much effort, energy, and time in trying to overcome hair loss, when ultimately, maybe it's just better to go bald. Of course, as we all know, I am a hair loss advocate. Me personally, I am eager and ready to accept my own balding as it happens, when it happens, where it happens. I'm ready for it. I don't want that to have any power over me, so I'm already beating it to the punchline. I'm ready for this thing. That's why I spent 3 months of this year with a zero guard buzz cut, really just making that part of my identity. I mean, that was really, and I loved it. I like myself better without hair. I honestly do. And that's convenient for me that I like myself better that way, but I do. It's the truth. So for me, hair loss itself, not something I'm worried about. But see, here's the thing. Even right now, certain people are thinking, Nick, The thing about you though, you have so much more hair than I do, and you're 37 and I'm not. But see, the thing is though, what you're doing is you're making these numbers in your head. You're comparing yourself to me. Okay, so what happens when you're 30? If you make it to 30 and you're not bald yet, or noticeably balding, and you're worried about it the whole time, doesn't that sort of defeat the purpose? Well, good for you. You survived all of your 20s without going noticeably bald, but you worried about balding the whole time? And then you make it all the way to 40? If you still have this much hair at 37? Okay, but you worried the whole time? Same thing to 50. You worry every new decade of your life, hoping that you can hang on to your hair? Isn't that actually worse than the hair loss itself? I say it is. I say if you carry around that burden, that beast, and you let it occupy your thoughts, your energy, your time, ultimately that's going to take a hit on your confidence and actually living your own life. So I would actually say, when it comes to hair loss, that the cure, and I say that with quotation marks because the cure is whatever you believe the cure is. I believe ultimately in the end, the cure is worse than the disease itself. But I think it takes a lot of people a while to get to that point where I am. Tell me what you think. Where? Right here? No, right here. That's where the comments go.